The Attorney General in New York is going after landlords who had the audacity to look at the rental histories and eviction records of potential tenants. I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News. All right, so I have an interesting article for you today, and once again, it's coming out of the great state of New York. Now, obviously, they hate landlords up there. I shouldn't stop mentioning that, because if you are a person and you're out of state and you're like, hey, I'm going to move up into New York State and I'm going to start investing in real estate, this is a warning, okay? They hate landlords up there. They keep taking away people's property rights, even in upstate New York, Rochester, Syracuse, etc., right? Landlords are having a lot of difficulty because the laws they're putting in place to cover places in New York City and that area, right? They are being implemented up in upstate as well. So the Attorney General there is coming after landlords, okay? They're saying, hey, landlords are the bad guys and I can get more votes and I can make myself look really good so that maybe I can be governor or something one day by, just hammering landlords, okay? Because they know landlords aren't going to garner a lot of sympathy with a lot of people because there are so many renters within New York State. Now, obviously, if you are a landlord in New York, hey, this isn't an easy business. We have to have a lot of bills that we have to pay, a lot of rules we have to follow, and it's not fair that we get treated as though we are some sort of criminals when we're providing this service and good to people that they need at a reasonable and fair price. But they don't see it that way. They see us as being like, I don't know what they think that we are, but it's evil. That's what they think. Oh, they're evil. They're evil and greedy. They're greedy because they want to make money. They should be socialist and just want to, everyone to be equal. What socialism does? It does make everyone equal. Equally poor, equally broke. Okay, it doesn't do anything for the truly low-income people to drag them up and put them in a better place. Instead, it brings the high-income people down and puts them in poverty with everyone else. That's no way to have a system in place, but that's what they are pushing in a place like New York. So yeah, this Attorney General is coming after landlords for having the audacity to look at a tenant's eviction history and their rental history during the application process, which I guess is against the law in New York. Yeah, I know it's against the law because they have stupid laws there that don't make any sense and that don't benefit the landlords and property owners. To me, it would be kind of like saying, hey, an employer can't look at the criminal history of an employee before hiring them. Remember, the employer doesn't want to face theft or, assaults of its other employees or its customers, yet you have to put somebody in your property who is going to steal from you, or in your business is going to steal from you or assault you. No, that doesn't make any sense. And it doesn't make any sense for what they're doing to landlords either. So yeah, take away our tenant screening tools and we will either be turned into criminals because now we're forced to break the law in order to operate our business, or then change our other criteria and make them so difficult that, hey, guess what? Now it is darn near impossible for anyone other than a saint to rent a property. Oh, and there's one more option, right? And this is the one I think is going to happen with a lot of small landlords in particular. They're just going to get out of the business. Okay? They know, hey, it isn't worth my time or my effort or my money to invest in a place where they treat me like a criminal for wanting to operate my business, okay? But hey, that's the problem with bureaucracy. That's the problem with socialism. That's the problem with all this ridiculous, far left-leaning, progressive politics, right? They treat the criminals like they are the victims, and they treat the victims like they are the criminals. Whew! Anyway, before I get into the article, go ahead, hit the like and subscribe button. Maybe leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think, okay? What do you think of the Attorney General of a state coming after landlords for doing basic tenant screening? Do you think landlords should be even allowed to do tenant screening? Should we be allowed to look at a tenant's credit? Should we be allowed to look at a tenant's employment history, rental history, eviction history? Should we just be forced to just rent to whoever just walks in at any point in time. No, we can't look at your income. No, we can't look at your background. I mean, what do they want us to do here? Okay? We have multi-100,000, like a lot of the times $1,000,000+ investments for a single property, and they think we're just going to allow, just go on somebody's word of mouth. Oh, I trust you. You can come into my place, no problem. Yeah, it's a $5 million mansion, but you know what? You look like you have good character. No, okay. Fantasy world. That's why I say politicians don't know a darn thing about business. Anyway, this article is actually coming from the NewYorkSenate.gov website, and it says, Attorney General James cracks down on tenant blacklisting. Right? And so, I think it was supposed to be like a puff piece, to make her look good, like, oh, look, the government is working, right? Well, it's garbage, okay? It's complete garbage, and it disgusts me that they think that this is a good idea. Anyway, let's get into it. Clipper Equity denied rental applications after obtaining applicants' housing court records. AG James warns landlords against using housing court records to conduct background checks for tenant applications. New York. New York Attorney General Letitia James today continued her efforts to protect New York tenants by cracking down on tenant blacklisting, or when landlords use housing court records as a basis to deny a potential tenant's rental application. Tenant blacklisting was made illegal in 2019 following changes to the real property law, which outlawed efforts to deny housing to renters with a history of landlord-tenant court cases. As a part of her efforts to eliminate tenant blacklisting in New York, Attorney General James took action against and secured a settlement with Clipper Equity LLC, a New York City real estate company that denied applicants with past housing court records and violated city and state human rights laws by requiring applicants to disclose their marital status. The Office of the Attorney General has also launched an online complaint form for New Yorkers to report instances in which landlords have engaged in tenant blacklisting. Yeah, let me get into this. This one paragraph is a little bit, it's hard to believe, right? But in 2019, apparently, they passed a law that made tenant blacklisting illegal in New York, right? Now, obviously, I don't think any landlords had any say whatsoever in the writing of this law. So there was, a bunch of, left-leaning politicians and tenant advocates and, lawyers who were writing this garbage because it doesn't make any sense. And, it says here that you can't look at housing court records. These court records are public, okay? So you, as a landlord, you can't look at these public records and see, hey, this person has been in housing court multiple times and because they don't pay their rent, okay? That's wrong. If a landlord finds out that, hey, they might be potentially renting to somebody who doesn't pay their rent, well, the landlord is in the wrong. And listen, there's a reason why these blacklists were created, because there are problem tenants. And we don't, I want other landlords to know about them. I do, okay? Blacklisting isn't illegal where I invest. I'm not saying that landlords up in New York should be doing it. You should follow the law. Wherever you're at, you should follow the law. But I understand why they are doing it. And that's the main thing right there. This is part of the reason I say don't invest in a place like New York. Okay? Because if you can't do the thing for your business that is the best, then you're going to get screwed over. So yeah, they expect landlords to not, to basically have zero knowledge about who they're putting into their, very expensive investment properties. It's ridiculous. And then they also said in here that, they can't ask a tenant about their marital status, right? Like, listen, there's one thing about asking about marital status, and then there's another thing about denying someone because of their marital status, right? Now, I personally would want to know if my tenant is married, because then I would know, hey, this other person who is living with my tenant, they're actually, their spouse, for emergency contact purposes, etc. right? So if we're talking about a checkbox on an application that says married, single, divorced, or whatever, right? That's not a denial because of the person's marital status. I think that this attorney general is reaching and trying to make something out of nothing. That's pretty much what, this. I mean, I have a lot of issues with these politicians who are always trying to, oh, I got this case and I'm gonna, slam this, this person so that I look good, because you know what she's really trying to do, right? I read about this Letitia James before. She has aspects on the governor's mansion up in New York. She wants to be the governor, and so she's trying to make a good name for herself. It has nothing to do with actually caring about the plights of tenants, because if it was, right, then she would be going after all of the ridiculous scams that these tenants were creating during the whole COVID-19 rental assistance program nonsense. I mean, so many tenants were scamming landlords. If you actually cared about enforcing the law, maybe you should be going after them, okay? Fair access to housing is a human right. Now, I'm going to stop right there, okay? Now, I don't know what kind of human right fair access, like if you pull up a list of human rights, which I might just do here, right? What are human rights? Like, what are human rights? Okay, and pop it up on Google, right? And let's see what it says here. And it says, what are the 7 human rights? And it says freedom from slavery, freedom from torture and degrading treatment, right to recognition as a person before the law, right to equality before the law. I'm sorry. Let's start over. Right to equality, freedom from discrimination, right to life, liberty, and personal security, freedom from slavery, freedom from torture and degrading treatment, right to recognition as a person before the law, right to equality before the law. Okay, and let me just scroll down here. There's a right to own property. And I don't see anything on here about fair access to housing. Okay, I could probably look it up on some other websites. I'm not going to do that right now. But the point is, right, a lot of the times we hear, oh, housing is a human right. No, it's not. Okay? And let's say, even if supposedly housing is a human right, what are we talking about here? Are we talking about the right to shelter being, okay, well, we're not going to allow you to be homeless, but you're going to be living in a gymnasium with 500 other people with one little shared bathroom, okay, sleeping on a bunk bed. Well, you're not homeless. You have somewhere to live. We gave you somewhere to live, but you don't have a right to, your own privacy. Within that house, you don't have a right to your own bathroom. Okay, you're asking for luxury stuff when you go beyond the very, very, bare minimum. And that would be like me saying, hey, I have a right to housing, so therefore you have to give me that Beverly Hills mansion. It makes no sense. But anyway, I'm not going to read the rest of this. Basically, you get the gist of it. The Attorney General up in New York, trying to make a name for herself, trying to become governor, is going after landlords. She's going to continue to go after landlords with these ridiculous laws. So watch out if you're up there. If you're a landlord in New York, just be very, very careful.